And welcome everybody to the final yard here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. I am your host, Louis Sung, and I did not think I was going to be hosting, but hey, you know what? After a game like tonight, you kind of have to pop in for at least a few minutes, right? So I'm going to go ahead. I'm joined by Michael Quirk to cover up this Dolphins 16, Steelers 10 victory at home against Brian Flores, against Minkah Fitzpatrick. It's a homecoming for so many guys. Unfortunately, it came down to the wire, ladies and gentlemen, and the most unlikely of heroes that you could ever possibly imagine for anybody who is just now tuning in and somehow did not see the actual final play. So before we get into all of that, let me just go ahead and mention once again that our sponsor for these shows is, as always, prizepicks.com. It's the revolutionary fantasy platform where you pick up to 5 different players across professional sports leagues. You can choose the NFL, you can choose the NBA, you can choose the MLB, and I believe the Yankees are actually doing their thing right now. You can choose one of each league. It's up to you to decide. You can choose the over or the under on those individual players' fantasy projections, and they will even send you over at Prize Picks some freebie picks that you can take advantage of. So even in his down years, if they ever give you Tom Brady over a 1 yard in a game, go ahead and jump on it, because how easy is that? With offers like that, hard to justify not signing up. Use the promo code 5, that's FIVE, and they will match up to $100 on your initial deposit. No extra rollovers. It's going to be instantaneous as long as you sign up using the promo code 5. That's FIVE, prizepicks.com. All right, so let's just get this right out of the way. Once again, the Miami Dolphins have the same issue that they've been having ever since it feels like I've been watching the Dolphins. They can never get both units to be functioning at once. First quarter of the game, offense was on a roll like I had never seen before. Tua was on fire. Everything was wonderful. And the defense was, it was doing pretty well, all things considered, but wasn't perfect. And then as the game started to progress and the offense started to fall off, the defense decides to show up. It's always like it's almost like Star Trek, where you have auxiliary power, more power to the shields, but you have to take power away from the weapons. So you end up, there's only so much power to go around on this Dolphins team, I guess. I don't know. But either way, the Steelers start driving down the field. The clock is ticking. Kenny Pickett looks like he's about to win the game for the Steelers at the last possible moment. And of all the players to come up with the big play to win the game, Noah Igbenogany, ladies and gentlemen, jumped in front, like he was standing. Maybe it was just right place, right time. But you know what? Sometimes it's better to be lucky than good. And Noah Igbenogany was standing right in the way of that pass. He jumped on it, picked it up, got both feet in bounds. There was a conflict as to whether or not he actually did get it in bounds or not. And then after the replay was over, it was determined, yes, he did. Game over. They didn't score. Neither team scored in the second half. How's that for a defensive standoff? I guess there are a lot of things to be concerned about with this Dolphins roster right now, but we'll get into that as the show progresses. Michael, what are your initial thoughts after everything that just went down?
Well, first of all, you said there's a lot going. We have a lot of issues with the Dolphins roster. The first issue is who's left on the roster. Brandon Jones going down is definitely something that's hanging on my mind moving forward. But on the positive side, that first drive from Tua, my God, even the first 3 drives, even though 2 of them ended in field goals, I will say Jason Sanders, how about that? Finally shook a little bit of that off. Raheem Mostert looked like an absolute man possessed tonight. He looked fantastic. Really like to see. I mean, we're seeing more and more that Mostert is. There's never going to be a bell cow sort of Mike McDaniel offense, but as far as you can lean,
Raheem Mostert is the bell cow, and I'm so mad that that's something else we're going to have to talk about, this whole Chase Edmonds experiment.
I think Andrew Van Ginkel led the team in tackles. He looked fantastic, had a couple great plays. Bethel looked fantastic. Jalen Phillips was consistently in the backfield, looked really good on that end. So those are a couple of the positives that I can take from it. I hated that 4th down play call. Not only not kicking the field goal, but if you're going to, which we saw how big that really loomed toward the end of the 4th quarter, that missed opportunity at a field goal. But that play call with Chase Edmonds on, was it 4th and 3, was never.
Just like it was on 3rd and 3.
Any world was that going to work. But you have to feel good that back on the winning ways, 4 and 3. So I saw the good vibes. I like that I'm going to try and take that going forward.
Yeah, but in date also brings up that it was an ugly win, and it was an ugly win. Let's be clear about that. There's some things that we need to keep. There's some things that need to be worked on with the Miami Dolphins, not the least of which, yeah, Tua needs to shake off that rust. It was obvious that the scripted plays, the first couple of drives, everything was going smoothly. Things started to fall off a little bit. I think Tua was getting a little, it was almost like he was getting a little too confident in everything, if that makes any sense, because he was getting massive chunk plays with every single throw he was making. So he started to see just how far could he push it before he started getting punished for it. And it seems like he kind of lost his way after that. So and even Nick Hicks, that Tua's in trouble when Nick Hicks starts saying, "Hey, kid, relax." Well, yeah. So when even his trainer is like, Tua needs to calm down a little bit, that's how you know that things are not as good as you would like it to be. And as far as the run game goes, I mean, Raheem Mostert, listen, if we're not for Raheem Mostert, this offense would not have gotten anywhere tonight after the initial push there. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to pull up the box score here because I think it's very telling everything that we saw today, because we all thought after the first few games or so, the running game hasn't come along yet. Where is it? Where is it at? Well, it turns out that the reason it hadn't shown up yet was because it was in the hands of the wrong running back. So let's give credit where it's due here, because Raheem Mostert has basically been the whole Miami Dolphins running game, and I refuse to accept anything else. Raheem Mostert went for 16 carries. He got 79 yards out of it. He averaged almost 5 yards a carry, guys. 5 yards a carry for this guy. Meanwhile, but in contrast, you have Chase Edmonds, who carried it 7 times, got 17 yards for 2.4 yards a carry. That's literally less than half of what Raheem Mostert was getting. So let's be clear about something. When Raheem Mostert, and by the way, before I move into it, can I also point out Chase Edmonds was targeted twice. He caught 0 passes. He did not catch a single pass. He did not catch one pass. And so now, also pointing it out, Raheem Mostert, by the way, he was targeted 5 times. He caught it 4 times for 30 yards. And the only touchdown that the Dolphins scored that whole game. So if your running back, who is not known for catching passes, is better at catching passes than your pass catching running back, I feel like that's some indicator that maybe you have an issue that needs to be addressed here. Chase Edmonds, as far as I am concerned at this point, he is a cap casualty next season. I would be more than happy to keep Myles Gaskin at this point, just because it's like, I don't see it with Edmonds. So either the Dolphins need to invest in a different running back next season. I wonder if Philip Lindsay might be looking for work next season. That'd be nice. Or maybe Duke Johnson. Would Duke Johnson be around next season? That would be fun, I think. But that's just me. So
how many critical drops has Chase Edmonds had?
At least 4.
We had the touchdown a couple weeks ago. You had the third down here. The guy, he's supposed to be, like you said, our pass catching.
It's all he's done. It's all he's done in his career. That's what he's known for. That's what he was brought in to do.
Meanwhile, he's catching as many passes as Cedric Wilson. So
0. Big fat 0. By the way, Cedric Wilson, poor guy. I mean, he was the wide receiver. He was the winner of the wide receiver lottery because he got signed to the big contract before Tyreek Hill showed up. And now that Tyreek is here, this guy can't touch the field. I don't know if it's just because Trent Sherfield's been around longer or if because he just knows the playbook better. Cedric Wilson, there's not really a role for him right now. So
I think Stephen Ross, his accountant, just says we always need a wide receiver that we can just write off at the end of the year. Just a big tax write-off. We had Will Fuller last year. We got Cedric
Did
Wilson.
you see that he's retiring to become a gamer, a professional gamer?
Is using your thumbs and your fingers for buttons and joysticks and all that really going to be his repertoire?
That's really going to be his thing. Well, I mean, he's not getting hit on the ground anymore. So all he has to do is just listen. You can get hurt all you want on the football field, but once you it's just
first gamer on IR.
Yeah, first gamer on IR, exactly. But Will Fuller. Well, listen, man, all the power to him. I love gaming. If he can become a professional gamer, good for him. I'm sure Tyreek Hill and he will be able to do duos in Fortnite one night. That'll be fun to watch if they ever do something like that. In any case, it looks like we have lost Michael. So let me go ahead and I will keep going here. The unidentified celebrity review are less than 50 away from 20K. Is that what the 5 Reasons Sports Network YouTube page is at? That'd be awesome if we could get there. So if everybody want to go ahead, please like, comment, and subscribe on this video. It really helps us out and helps the YouTube algorithm. And if anybody does want to get into the super chat, we appreciate those donations as well. Helps us to keep doing what we are doing. And it would also make it worth it for me to be staying up way past my bedtime to do this show. I have to be up at 5 a.m, man. This, I saw the calls for everybody to like, hey, do we have post game? Yes, we have post game. I am here, Michael. Something else I wanted to bring up here. So, over the past couple of games, we've been seeing some better things. Better, I should say better because it's not good. Better things from Noah Igbenogany. Do you have any hope that this kid might yet be salvaged in some way?
I mean, you're so far down the line at this point. I know that in the grand scheme of things, he's still young, but he's been in the league a couple years. And yes, you have redeeming plays. I mean, he won a football game tonight. That's fantastic. He's had a couple great pass breakups. He's had some good moments in coverage the last couple weeks. But as a corner, just like as a gambler, yeah, you had a great pick here and there, but consistency is what we need from you if we're going to follow your picks. You need a bit more consistency from the guy. And he still has those brain lapses. I mean, when he let Pickens get open for 30 yards, where in God's name was he going? I just didn't understand that.
Always confused. He's always confused. It's like that's the part of it that made me just so that's the part that makes me so upset with Noah Igbenogany. He always looks like he's not sure where he's supposed to be. And mind you, I just saw a tweet out there basically said that Sam Madison and Patrick Surtain were leaving the locker room with huge smiles on their faces. I guarantee you they have been drilling the hell out of Igbenogany night and day, trying to get him to actually understand what he's doing. So I'm sure for him, I'm sure for those two, they're like taking this as like a big victory between the old cornerback duo. I was like, we finally got something out of this guy. So let's keep pushing because maybe we can save this kid yet. So who knows? Maybe, just maybe, this could be the start of something for Noah Igbenogany. It's too tired, man. I can't get his name right. Like maybe Noah Igbenogany ends up growing from this experience. Maybe now that he's actually finally made a play that's worth like celebrating. Because before it was just like, oh, there was an incomplete pass and he just happened to be the corner, and then he celebrates by throwing his arms. I'm like, boy, you just happen to be the guy on top of him. You didn't do anything. But it's like, whatever. This time he definitely was there. He did exactly what needed to be done. And so I'm very happy with it. As far as let's go else to the defense, pass rush. Pass rush is still having some issues here, and I don't know what it is. I don't know why they can't seem to get it. I suspect truly that just the fact that the coverage is just not where it's supposed to be, the fact that Byron Jones is not out there with Xavier Howard, you can't do what the Dolphins are used to. And I'm not saying that they should only be able to get to the quarterback when they blitz, but those coverage sacks are a real thing, man. You wait long enough. It's very rare that you see a pass rusher be so dominant against an offensive lineman that after 3 seconds in the pocket is just splat. Usually they can at least escape, buy some time, find somebody open. So when you always have a guy open, that's going to cause problems.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, Trey Flowers being out when he was expected to come in and sort of help supplant. And it's never a good thing when you have two sort of late ad veterans that you go and get, which the Dolphins did with Flowers and of course, Melvin Ingram. When you're going out and getting guys like that on short-term deals late after they've already been passed through or passed on by everyone else, that doesn't speak too well about what you feel that you have inside the building. And Jalen Phillips has those moments. I thought he looked
really there are a few moments there where he was like, again, he was almost there, but just as he's about to get there, that's when Pickett throws the ball. So it's like
Melvin Ingram wasn't terribly around to be found. Christian Wilkins had some good moments, but not terrific in terms of the pass rush. Andrew Van Ginkel, again, was around the football a lot, not in the backfield a ton. So, yes, there is something to be desired there. Although if we're talking about what we should be looking ahead to at the trade deadline, obviously if you can find a little bit of offensive line help, not bad. But I think they're going to be focusing on corner more than anything.
I mean, at this point, they're going to have to because they've got almost nothing left. Like they're out of bodies, man. Like unless we get Byron Jones back, and by the way, even if he is healthy at this point, it's still gonna be a while before he shows up. So we're still not gonna have him. Like hopefully we can maybe get Cater Kohu back. That would be nice. If we can get Keon Crossan back, that would be nice. Like we need somebody to show up and be healthy because again, Igbenogany having a great last minute of the game, that doesn't tell me much because that's still not somebody I want to rely on. Now, let's go ahead and get into the offense because that's what everybody is going after. I've already seen comments about how Tua's not the guy. Roy Crosby saying offensive was the good first quarter and underwhelming after that. Mr. Crosby's comment is correct. I wouldn't go so far as to say that this proves that Tua is not the quarterback for the Miami Dolphins. Again, he was playing at an MVP level before the whole concussion thing. You can't just take that away from him because he had a bad game against the Pittsburgh Steelers. There are obviously things that he needs to work on. We've known that he needs to continue to work on them. Obviously, he gets too risky with his throws sometimes. I feel like I'm going to have to reevaluate my thought process on him because I keep saying that Tua is a surgeon, which he is, but he tends to get into that gunslinger mentality when he starts having a little too much success. So if he's going to do that, he needs to be absolutely sure where he's going with that football. I understand, trust your wide receivers. That's great, but you can't always count on Tyreek Hill to bail you out of a jam. You can't always count on Mike Gesicki to make an acrobatic catch sometimes, and you definitely can't count on Chase Edmonds to do much of anything for you. So again, this is a learning experience. This is his first game back from the massive injury. I'm not going to go ahead and say that, Tua is not the guy because, again, this is the problem with the microscope that we've put on Tua. If he's doing a fantastic job, then it's like, well, let's see if he does it next week. And then what happens is that what can you tell I'm tired, Michael? Can you tell
it's
I'm
getting
tired?
there?
I'm trying to get the words out. Like we hang on to his every single mistake to try to say, there it is. There's the proof that he's not the guy. And like all the good stuff that he's done, you can't just toss it aside because you want to be proven that he's definitely not the guy. Tua's done some fantastic things this season. He's done some not so fantastic things this season. And he is still a young quarterback with plenty of room to grow. Just like there's a lot of quarterbacks out there. But we want to talk about like the overall performance, right? Well, you could make the argument that Justin Herbert with the Chargers, he does fantastic numbers. Have they won anything? No, not really. And so with that in mind, it's like you can point to many different factors. I'd say that we can't say that Tua is not the guy already. And I see Cap for Life asking for Joe Hayden. Joe Hayden retired, man. He's not coming back. Like he's done. Like he's not coming out of retirement. So if you really want somebody, yeah, you're going to have to hope for a trade. But I mean, it seems like they're just going to trust these guys until Byron Jones comes back. So for better or worse, offense is just going to have to start stepping up. And a lot of that is on Tua.
For me, I'm still encouraged by Tua. I mean, they showed it ad nauseum, the almost picks today. Yes, the underthrow on Tyreek Hill, that was rough. There was another terrible one. Two of them, I think Gesicki got held a little bit. Would have been a bit of a better throw on one. I don't hate all the throws, but yes, you're 100% right that when Tua starts having some success and starts feeling really good with the rhythm of the game, that he gets a little bit riskier in what he's doing. I don't think it's other teams figuring out him or McDaniel or whatever so much as it is that when that confidence builds, it almost reaches a hubris level sometimes. And I think that he'll continue to grow and so forth. I think that this has been a tremendous step forward so far this year. And of course, McDaniel's going to get better as well. But yeah, God bless. This just shows that people will watch any semblance of football with what we've seen in primetime games this year. Because there is and a lot of that's Russell Wilson's fault because my God, but
they love them some Russell Wilson on primetime. I'll tell you that. Like they keep waiting I think they keep putting him on there because they desperately need somebody to see, look, he's still good. He's still good. You see, he's still Russell Wilson. And like they're desperately hoping and praying that he is. And I just don't see it anymore. I think he's washed at this point.
And then at any point, they just have the break in case of emergency NL East matchup or NFC East. God, yeah, we're getting a bit late. I also had a TV on the Yankees game earlier. But they just say, hey, yeah, Eagles, Cowboys, Commanders, Giants, whatever. Just throw someone in there. But yeah, today left a lot to be desired. We didn't see anything from Jalen Waddle in the second half. Gesicki had a lot of nice moments in the first half. And then, of course, building off of last week, where he had some good moments against the Vikings. Then we didn't see anything from him in the second half. Agree with you continuing to go to Chase Edmonds when that well is, I don't want to say it's run dry. It's just continuously been dry. So that was a bit rough for me, but I still feel good about Tua. I still feel good about
Tua too. Again, I'm not taking this game as proof positive that he's not the guy. And by the way, he did just mention in his post-game press conference that missing the 2 games did have an effect on his performance, and he just really wanted to get the butt of the ball really fast tonight. And he basically said, "Yeah, I have to get you back to used to the speed of the game." Tua has never been one to make excuses for his performance. So for him to say that is probably just him knowing how he functions. And so I suspect that after another week of practice and against another opponent that is beatable, that he's going to be back to form. And I see that Michael has now gone out again. The amount of times in this game where our offensive momentum was ruined by Chase. Yeah, Chase Edmonds has been a serious issue on this offense. But I will point out from Roy Crosby, yes, that was actually something I wanted to bring up next. Teron Armstead was a lifesaver tonight. And thank goodness that he played through his toe pain, because it's like he even called it a very unique injury. Like, I don't know what that means. It just tells me it's not your typical turf toe, but apparently it's bad, but it's not bad enough that he actually can't play, because he's still playing at an all-pro level, and that is something we are all exceedingly grateful for. The number of times that Raheem Mostert was able to run behind Armstead and then Alec Ingold on a run, that was thing of beauty with the running game. Teron Armstead just anchors this whole offensive line, and he's not even the guy in the middle of the and Connor Williams, also credit to him as well. This offensive line is not as bad. When Armstead is in there, this offensive line is actually pretty solid, all things considered. So all you need to do is just get back into your rhythm, and this offense, I think, can go back to humming along like it was. So with all that said and done, what else do you? Let me see who's next on the schedule, because like I said, I'm tired. I'm not thinking straight. Let's see. Next on the schedule is the Detroit Lions. Ooh, okay, that should be a fun one. Last I checked, Mr. Michael, the Lions defense is not great.
Man. Yeah, they're coming off of they gave up 20 plus to the Patriots with Bailey Zappi, and the Cowboys with Dak Prescott coming back today, which neither of those offenses are terribly scary to deal with. And so just so long as you can shut down Jared Goff through the air.
Which, by the way, the last time that I remember the Dolphins playing the Jared Goff, I think it was on the Rams the last time they played, if I'm not mistaken. By the way, Jared Goff looked awful against the Dolphins defense. Granted, this was the Brian Flores Dolphins, but still, it's just Jared Goff does not scare me. Who is Jared Goff? Why should I even be remotely concerned about Jared Goff? Like, name me one thing that he does that I feel like I need to be scared about. Like, I don't know, man. I guess we should say that we could say the same thing about Kenny Pickett and the Steelers, but if Amon-Ra St. Brown, is that his full name?
Yes.
So the Lions wide receiver, I believe he's going to be in the concussion protocol. So we'll see where all that goes, because if they don't have him, where does the offense go from there? Jared Goff doesn't even have his main target to throw to. So I don't know. I feel like next week's game should be a fairly easy one. But then again, this is the Miami Dolphins. They don't seem to ever make anything easy. Hence why I'm still awake and not actually in bed right now, because nobody. Okay. Is there anything else we got to talk about before we wrap this up? Because I really do got to go to bed. I have to be up at 5 a.m.
I have 2 things for you. First, and I'm going to hit them with you back to back. First, if I tell you in 3 years' time, one of these 2 guys is a starter for the Miami Dolphins, and it's either Noah or it's Eichenberg, who is it? And 2, we've gone this entire show and haven't said Brian Flores' name one time.
I did say Brian Flores. It was like his homecoming and whatever. And I did technically mention Brian Flores because it was Brian Flores' defense that played Jared Goff.
Oh,
So I did
that's
say
right.
I did say his name. I did say his name,
You
and
think he made
he
his
was
way
in the
to
booth.
Stephen
He's
Ross's
irrelevant.
booth?
He was in the booth. He said hi to some of the guys that actually liked him. Moving on to the next scene. It was a
That couldn't
nothing
have
burger
taken
today.
long.
Yeah, Minka Fitzpatrick had more of a homecoming than Brian Flores, but whatever. That's so. As far as your question, who would I prefer? There's a question: who would I prefer to be a starter?
No, I tell you, in 3 years, one of them starting for the Dolphins. Who would you bet your money on that it will be?
Eichenberg. And the only reason I say Eichenberg is because he can be hidden better by Connor Williams and Teron Armstead. Igbenogany's on an island, so if he makes mistakes, he doesn't get to hide.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's probably a question all for naught because I don't think we see either of them here in 2 years.
No, I don't. Honestly, at this point, I don't think we see either of them either. But it's like I don't know what it is. I think it's because I think some of the 72 Dolphins. I think it was Larry Little who literally said that. Yeah, Eichenberg's a tackle, not a guard. So stop trying to make that experiment work. So if that's the case, then I kick him back to right tackle and say, screw it. Like, well, let's end this Brandon Shell, Greg Little experiment. Let's just throw Eichenberg back a tackle where supposedly he belongs. But I don't know. I'm not a coach. I don't know. Maybe they see something I don't. I honestly wouldn't argue with Larry Little, but that's not for me to say. Anyway, we're gonna go ahead and call it here. Thank you everybody for joining us. I gotta go to bed. Manny, take us out of here. For me and Michael Quirk. Bye bye.